radio. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Awesome. How is everyone doing? Let's see if I can get this post up. Let me just refresh my page. All right. There we go. We are live. Oh, perfect. The sun is coming out here a little bit. It's brightening up a little bit, so that's perfect timing for this live. How are we all doing on this Thursday? Does anybody have these yet? The Irresistible rub-on transfers. We're going to take a little, kind of a small deep dive into these guys today. I mean, there's really only so much you can do with them. But we'll do a little bit of playing with them. Hi, Lori. Just adjusting my camera there a little. When you put it on video, it's not like when I take pictures and I get the nice little grid and the crosshatch, so it tells me when I'm level. Doesn't happen here. All right. Hey, Lori, how are you doing today? How was everyone's past weekend? We had the pop-up shop on Saturday. That was fantastic. Went really well. Got to see a lot of people, so that was nice. There were a lot of deals to be had as well, so I saw lots of happy shoppers there. Yeah. So I think I spent Sunday recovering because it was busy on the Saturday, but it was fun. It's always fun seeing people live in person. Yeah. All right, so let's take a look here. There's two different packages here, and these are they're called Irresistible Focus. Oh, okay, this one, sorry, they have two different names. This one in the yellow package is called, hello Suzanne, is called Irresistible Focus Rub-On Transfers. And then this one is called Irresistible Curiosities Rub-On Transfers. Yeah, exactly, Lori. It's kind of hard to tell from the packaging, right? Because you just see kind of that tone-on-tone printing. So I believe that this package, in the blue package, was with the, whatever the name of that new line is. Isn't that terrible? I didn't even look it up before I came live. The Willow Curiosities in Willow Grove something or another. I ought to look it up now because it's bugging me that I don't know it. I should have checked. Okay, Echoes of Time was the last one, the newest one, I think. I'm just on the website flipping through here, so if I was smart, I'd just search 49 and market and pull all that up. And then I can tell you exactly what goes with which. Although, quite honestly, when you look at these, you can kind of pretty much use them with, I would say, with anything. Let's see if this will sort correctly for me. Not really. Not super duper important which line they're from per se. I'm just scrolling here. Not Flower Emporium. That was Vicky's first one. With 49 in market. Oh boy. It's giving me all sorts of nice, great things in the search. And not that one. Well, not a big deal. We will dive right in. So I thought that one thing interesting to do would be to see, okay, Curiosities in Willow Grove. That is what this line in the blue is from. I finally found that. Hi, Christine. And I'm not sure what this one is from, unless it's just kind of generic. But it does have a spider web on here. So this would be super cool, I think, to use with that Halloween line that they did, 49 and Market did. So, okay. So let's work with this guy here. the Curiosities rub-on transfers. Now, there's 3 sheets in each package. I'm just going to pull them out here. And then on the back of the packaging, it gives you, so it kind of has them all on this blue background. So you can see these are all the rub-ons that are included in this particular package. Just because I'll show you when we take them out of the packaging, it's going to be a little difficult to see what they look like because they're white. So what it is, it's kind of like you'd be able to, it's like if you white heat embossed. So you're getting that look of heat embossing without having to do any inking and heating and all of that. So I'll just kind of tip that there. I think you can see that's kind of what you can kind of see the various shapes here. So this packaging has, we can see some text, some little rings there, hearts, leaves. Okay, then the second sheet, we've got butterflies, some stars, numbers, little ticket. So lots of images I think that you've seen in 49 in Market in their ephemera or even in their colored rub-ons. So we've got all those on here. So I'm also going to grab a sheet of dark cardstock because one of the things I read online in the kind of rub-ons from back in the day, you'd always have, there's a little bit of a cloudy edge on the film. And with these ones, supposedly once you get these all down on the paper, you don't see any kind of, adhesive edging around the rub-ons itself. So we'll kind of test that out here, I think. Yeah, so let's take a look here. What I'm going to do, I think the first thing I want to try, now they are called Irresistibles. So with that being said, we can ink over top of these. We can apply them to paper. Maybe I'll just show you that actually rather than just talking about it. I'm just going to grab a sheet of white cardstock here first. We'll do it on white cardstock just because white on white, you'll really see what I mean by the Irresistibles. So let's do one of these butterflies. So I'm just going to trim around that image that we're going to use. Okay, and I'm just trimming around the paper. One thing, if you've used any of the 49 in Market rub-ons before, you know that they will, as soon as it touches your paper, that is going to stick wherever it grabs onto the paper. So I highly recommend you trim out the shape with the backing sheet attached. So that way, if you accidentally drop it like that, it's not going to all of a sudden be stuck on whatever paper you've got in that area, because you're not going to be able to move it. So we're just going to peel that backing off. And then I'm just going to pop it. I'm going to put it right here in the center. Maybe I'll put it right here. We can use this as a card or something later. Just going to pop it right down here. Okay, and then you can either use a bone folder, if you've got a bone folder, to kind of rub that on, or I've got this tool from back in the olden days. I think it was from Making Memories or Basic Gray that was designed for rub-ons. Or if you've got like a flower shaping tool that's got the ball on the end, you can use that as well. But you'll see as I'm applying the pressure on here to transfer the rub-on, that it kind of changes color a little bit. So I'm just going to pull that up gently, making sure I've got everything down. Just going to add a little bit more pressure. So if you've used 49 in Market rub-ons, it's going to go on the same way. Okay. So you can see it's kind of looks like a little off-white on this piece of white cardstock. So if you get these rub-ons, like I'm running my finger across it here, and right around the edging of the image, there's literally no adhesive on there. So we should be able to ink right up to the edge there. Okay, and now so this white color will resist the ink. So on this image, I'll see if, I'm not sure if we can tell here. We've got, it's not solid, like it's not a solid butterfly, so it's got some, the paper shows through on here. So when we go over this with our ink, we should be able to deposit the color into those little areas as well. Okay, so I'm gonna grab, I do have some ink out here. We'll use the green just because it'll show up nicely on camera. Some Distress Oxide. You could use just whatever your favorite ink is. I'm just gonna go right over the top of that. All right. And now I'm just going to take a, I don't know if you have to do this, but I'm going to do this anyways. I'm just going to grab kind of a little spare piece of paper towel here and just swipe over the top of that rub on to kind of pull some of the ink off it. Okay. So there we can see that that rub-on has resisted the ink. So that's pretty. So if you want to add color to your layouts, all of that, but let's take a look at this and see if we can, what happens if we work the opposite way. So if we ink our cardstock first. I did check out a video, and so I thought it would be interesting to try this on a few different surfaces to see if it would work. So the one video I watched, she did not have good luck with trying to put the rub-ons onto the paper that had been pre-inked. But I inked this earlier, like maybe about an hour before this live, and then just set it aside to dry. So we're going to try it and see if we can get that to work, if it will ink on there. I think it should. It should stick. But like I said, the one video I checked out, the creator said she wasn't able to get it to stick, and so she didn't recommend trying that, but I'm going to try it myself anyways. Let's do this. Yeah, fine. We'll do hello, hello, hello. We'll do the words here. I'm not going to waste these. Even if I do this on different surfaces, I will end up cutting them out and using them on either a card, or probably a card or a layout. So this paper has been inked with Distress Oxide Peacock Feathers. So let's see if this rub-on is going to adhere to here. Just gonna pop her down the same way and take my tool. And it should, because I can see, it might be hard to see on camera, but I can see that the color on the transparency is changing. So that means that it's releasing off that transparency and should be adhering to that inked paper. Okay, so I just want to make sure I get that fully transferred. And sometimes you can tell, you can hear the transfer paper kind of lift off as you're rubbing that in, and then you know that it's adhered. Okay, there we go. So that will adhere to that inked sheet. Now, just bringing in this other one, the previous one, I don't know if you can tell, but can you see that this is quite a bit more vibrant as far as being white? And this is a little bit muted. So it's taking on some of the inked color underneath the bottom. Unless you're maybe inking with a lighter color under here, if you want these to remain white, then you're going to want to apply your rub-on before you ink. Just kind of taking a look at the difference between the two, where this is not quite as bright white when we lay it on over top of the ink. Okay, so that's over Distress Oxide. let's kind of take a look and see how it will look over a dye ink. And so this is a lighter color of a dye ink. It's Warm Sunshine from Altenew. So I'm going to use another butterfly on here, and let's see what this one looks like. Okay. So same thing, we'll just apply that on there and use my little tool or your bone folder. So if you're really into layering on your layouts or your cards, these would be fantastic for getting a lovely layer and without any bulk either. Okay, so that should be adhered on there. There we go. Okay, so that's quite light on there. So we've got some ink underneath. I'm going to add a little bit more on top. I'm just curious what will happen, because like with that blue one, you can see that the vibrancy of the white is definitely muted when you layer the rub on over top. So I suppose if you're looking for something like maybe a watermark type of texture or a tone on tone, then you'd want to use where you don't kind of want these to stand out and be super stark, then this is a lovely way to get that soft texture in your backgrounds, you know, without kind of a stark white. So I'm just going to go over that again a little bit. I'm just curious if we deepen that yellow, if that white is going to be a little bit more vibrant, like if the background picks it up more. Okay, I'll do one more little pass. So it's definitely a more subtle look if you ink first and then put your rub-ons over top. But adding that little bit of extra yellow ink does kind of make that a bit more, make the white stand out a little bit more. Okay, so again, just to show you, this is the difference if we apply the rub-on first and then ink, and this is when we apply the ink first and then the rub-on. So it just depends what look you're going for. Okay, now I do have a couple of other, I've got a watercolor panel and then I've got an alcohol inked panel. So I'm going to do the same thing too, just to see what kind of look we get. Are we going to get kind of that subtle tone on tone, like a watermark look, or are we going to get, you know, is the bright white going to stand out? So let's do, I think I want to do on this one, on the watermark one, we'll do this little corner here, because I think this would be actually quite lovely on a card. We'll use this as a card front. So let's see how this layers over a watercolored panel. Okay. If that's going to blend into the background or if that's going to kind of stand out. So I'm going to pop it up here. Okay. Whoops, that's my pen. So this will be interesting to see the difference here. Now with this, you should be able to, for example, apply the rub-on to your watercolor paper and then add your color after. I haven't tried that yet, but you should be able to do that as well. And then these rub-ons would resist the color. So I imagine if we wanted to add, let's say, a clear glitter or something over top, we could come in with another spray over top. Okay. Have any of you picked up these rub-ons yet? Just have a little piece that came off, so I'm just going to... I have to admit, I think the last few 49 and Market lines I've purchased, I just haven't had a chance to get around to using them, so I told myself I'm not allowed to buy any more until I use them. We'll see how successful I am in that. Sometimes FOMO, no matter how hard you try to resist it, it gets in there and you can't help it. All right, so that looks pretty cool. So it's not as stark white as this guy, but that shows up quite well. It doesn't blend into the background too much, but just gives you that nice little subtle hint of texture. So easy peasy, love that. So let's kind of see what this looks like on this bright, vibrant, somewhat hideous alcohol inked piece of cardstock. I know, I don't know what I'm going to use that for, but it's just one of those times. I don't often take the time to just play. And you know, it's hit or miss sometimes. But this was one of those times I just kind of played around, and I figured, you know, I may not love this like in its full entirety, but I can probably cut it down or use a die to cut it down, or cut a word out of it and make it work. So I pulled it out just because it was so vibrant. I thought it would be interesting to see how these Irresistible rub-ons would work over top. So I'm just going to pop that up in here because it doesn't really matter, but in a spot where I don't mind the inking. And so this is Yupo cardstock that I just previously played around with my alcohol inks. And I just want to see how that will work on here. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, I missed a couple of pieces down here. So if it's still kind of, you have a little bit left on your transfer paper, I just lay it back down and rub it. There we go. Oh, I like that. So that's fun. That's just that little splatter there. So super cool. That's on the alcohol inked paper. So lots of things. You could use this for your art journals, for your card fronts. Let's kind of take a look and see if that stands out as kind of the nice bright white on this dark cardstock, or if it's going to kind of get a little bit I forgot the word now. It's on the tip of my tongue. It'll come back to me. Not lost, softened by the cardstock. I'm going to use this little zigzag because I can just cut that out after and reuse it. No, that's too little. Let's do this heart. Might as well do something big if we're going to do it, right? And I just want to see, maybe I'll use the smaller one just so I don't have to cut through so much. What you don't want to do is end up cutting through all one of these patterns. But they're all laid out on here quite well that you can kind of just trim around what you need. Okay. So I'm just going to peel that off and pop it on here. And then we'll just rub. And again, you can just do this with your bone folder and look at that. Okay. That's when it transfers really well, when that transfer paper just pops right off. So that's really pretty. So you know what I'm going to do? Bear with me. I'm just going to grab one of my interference ink pads, or one of the Lisa Horton inks. So these are the inks that are one color on white cardstock and then a different color on black. So I'm just going to grab one of those ink pads and let's see how that looks on this over these rub-ons. I'm going to do, let's see, I got a few in here, I'm just trying to find it. Somehow I'm always drawn to this color, so we'll use the color shift. So the color shift is the Lisa Horton color shift inks, so similar to the interference inks where they're one color on white cardstock, so it would be this blue, and then it's this greeny on dark cardstock. The difference between the color shift and the interference have more of a shine to them, and the color shift are a matte finish. Hello, Kathy. So let's take a look at what that would look like here, just over top of the Irresistible. And you know what? Maybe we'll do a little section. Actually, I don't know if we can, because I think we'd have to wait for the ink to dry. We'll see. We'll see if we'll do it the opposite way as well. Let me just grab one of my brushes here. I think I can use this one. All right. And well, actually, where did I put that lid? Right here. I just want to put that lid down here for you so you can see the color it's supposed to be. So this is the color the ink pad looks like, and this is the color that we should get on the dark cardstock. I'm just going to tap a little bit off. Might just take a bit for it to start to change color. You can see over top of the white, it definitely looks blue. I like to go a little heavier with this stuff. Just so you can see it a bit better. Hi, Jenny. All right. So I'm gonna hit that with my heat tool, pardon me, just a little bit. Put a lot of ink on here. I'm gonna try not to melt this rub-on because I've got my embossing gun out, not my heat it tool. So I'm just gonna quickly run that back and forth, try to dry that ink a little bit. Okay, and then we'll give that a little wipe. Okay, so it's probably still not quite dry, all that dry, but so there's our Irresistible rub-on, and then I've just added that color shift ink underneath. So that does stay fairly bright white. So what if we add the ink on here? Actually, what I'm going to do is grab a different sheet of paper. So I found this sheet of cardstock that I don't know how long ago, I'd just gone direct to paper with, I forget which color shift ink. I think it was the interference ink pad actually. But this is long dried, so I thought let's try out one of these little hearts on this paper, so on top of that colored ink, to see, is our rub-on going to stay bright white, or is it going to kind of be a little bit more muted? That was the word I was looking for before, like this one that we did here with these two. Remembering that this one we applied the rub-on then inked, this one I inked first and then put the rub-on on top. So, although all things being equal, I probably should do it on this black so that we can tell. Yeah, I'll do both. What I'll do is add some ink onto here so it can have a little bit of time to dry. How does that sound? And then we'll see what the comparison is between the two. That way we get a good idea. But it just helps you decide how you want to use these rub-ons if you decide to. Well, if you haven't used them yet and you've got them in your stash. Okay, we can just set that aside to dry. And let's take a little look here, what these would look like on here. So I think I'm just going to pick something small that is easy for me to kind of cut out and use on another project. You know what? I'm going to do this butterfly because all the 3 butterflies I've done, I can just fussy cut them each and then put them on a card together. And that'll be pretty. Okay. So I'll peel that off. I'm going to pop it in this top corner. And I'm just going to use my bone folder this time, just so you can see how easy it is. No special tools required. Some of the 49 and Market rub-ons come with a little, little transfer tool, a plastic rub-on tool. These ones do not. So if you've already got some 49 and Market rub-ons, you've probably already got that little tool. Okay. Okay, so maybe it's just this color, but because it's not quite so deep as this one, but this one shows up a little bit more. But so you definitely can add your color and then your ephemera over top. And then I could go back over this, add another color on top just to deepen up all those areas that are open that don't have white. Okay, so let me bring this guy back in, and I'm going to hit him with a heat tool, and we're going to see what this would look like on this darker cardstock inked. Okay. So they're pretty easy to use. Very, very easy to use. Up to you how you want to use them, what you want to use them for. But you've got, as I said, 3 sheets, and then these sheets are, full with images. And the nice thing with this packaging, I'm just going to bring this back in. This piece here is really beautiful that you can even just trim this out. You could fussy cut this out and use this as a mat, a photo mat on your layout or something like that. Super, super nice. Yeah, the subtlety, Jenny. Yeah, agreed. Okay, so I think this is not quite dry yet, because if you look here, my edges are green and this is a little bit blue. But for the sake of experimentation, let's just see if we can if the rub-on would adhere to this, especially if it's not 100% dry. I think it has to be 100% dry. But this is just a good test to kind of understand the capabilities and what these can and cannot do. Okay. So I'm going to rub that on. I mean, I would suggest that if you're going to apply these over top of ink, then, for sure, just let your ink sit and dry, because you don't want to waste them. I'm just doing a quick demo, so if I waste one image, that's no big deal. But you do not want to ruin your entire layout by having it not stick and be an issue trying to use it, because you can't really add adhesive to the back of these to reuse them. Okay, so that will stick. So that was dry enough. So this is pretty. So this one actually stays quite white. Going over top of this one, it's just a little bit, it's hard to tell on camera, but in person I can see it's just got a little tinge of color, but this stays a nice bright white. on this color shift ink on top of dark cardstock. So if you want just a little hint of color, even a little bit more color than here, once this dries, it's going to look more green on the back. So very easy to use. Okay. And so I just want to show you guys, we've kind of tested some different surfaces and whether they've been inked or not inked. Let's kind of take a look at what one of this is going to look like on top of pattern paper. And I chose this piece out of, I think it was called, let me see. It's from Vintage Artistry, Nature Study, and it's the Ledger Collection Pack. So I chose this paper because I thought it would be fun to kind of mix some of these images on here. So I'm not going to craft an entire layout with this, but we're going to kind of add some ink, add a few of these rub-ons, just so you can kind of get a good idea of how they're going to appear on pattern paper. So let's do, what do you guys think? Maybe this one. I like this one here. The text with the little like splatter rings and coffee rings. I think that would be fun to take a look at that over top of the ledger. Now, dark ledger, we can use this side or we can use this side. I was thinking this side because I think when I add some color to that, it's might be a little, will kind of help the rub-on pop a bit more. So we're going to add this. Or I'm thinking this might get lost. The words might get lost. Well, maybe not. You know what? There are actually words on here already. They're very faint. They're hard to see. But let's kind of add that up there and see. And then I think I want to do some dots down at this side. Okay. Yeah, I think I like the dots like this down here, or like this down here. What I'm going to do is cut off. I'm going to go right to the edge of these dots. That way I can see where I'm going to line them up. You don't have to trim all around them here. I'm just trimming around them here because it just helps me decide to get to the end. Overpaint in art journals. Good question, Lori. You know what? I think I might actually have a piece of paper here that's got some gouache paint on it. Hang on a sec. I was looking at it earlier. Let me see if I can find it. Aha, I do. We can test it out. So this is a piece of watercolor cardstock that's got some gouache paint over top. So I will grab one of these and we will see if that will, how that adheres. Let's do, let's do these numbers. We'll do this kind of top piece. I'll make it work somehow. I have no idea how. Well, let's kind of see. This is really dark. I'm sure you're referring to not this kind of darkish, this dark color of paint, but I'm going to do that over top just to see if it will adhere. It will give us an idea. Okay. And it looks like it will work. Again, I would just say ensure that your paint is like super dry, just to be on the safe side. But it would be really pretty to layer it, like if you had a lighter color of paint as your base and then you were putting some over top as well to see what kind of look you get. So yeah, that will definitely work. Should work over top of paint. Beautiful. Okay. You're very welcome. All right, so I'm going to add these little bubbles down here. I think I like them better this way. Or maybe this way. Yes, I like them better this way. I know it doesn't matter, but considering I'm not really sure what's going to go on this layout, then I might as well make it kind of lay it out how I like it the first time around, because you can't take this off once it's on. Okay. And I'm going to pick like a neutral-y color of ink to go over top of this, since I'm not 100% sure what all I'm going to add to this layout. This is going to be my first layer. Okay. And I'm just checking that I've got everything. Yep. Oh, I have one dot. I've got one dot that I didn't rub hard enough. Not sure exactly where it goes. I'm just going to put it right there. You see, you can just lay that back down, and now it's on. Okay, and then we'll put these guys up here. And then we'll add a little color. Just so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like when you layer these over top of your pattern paper. Of course, all depending on what's underneath, if you've got a floral or whichever. Okay. So it doesn't take much work. These go on really, really easily. Little smidgy. All right. So I'm just going to use my other tool here. So you see I have a few little spots I can tell that are coming up. Some of it doesn't really matter. Can't really tell, but there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to tip that for you so you can see that that sheen is the rub-ons. And if you have these, when you run your finger over, like I was saying earlier, the only, you can feel the text and the image, feel the rub-on, but there's definitely no halos or shadows around that. Like sometimes I think the olden days, some of those older ones, you would have almost like a little bit of an edge of a sticker on those rub-ons, but we don't have that here. Okay, so I think I've got a little bit of ink left on here, so I'm just gonna lightly go over this on this end here, add a little bit of this bluey color. On here, and it's really soft. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ink blending tool as well, where I know I've got some oxide ink on there. I'm going to go right over the top of that, and I'm just using what's left on my blending tool here. I'm going to go do this, the top up here as well. Really pretty. So you can see as you add the color, then those rub-ons resist the ink. Add a little bit more. So when you get that deeper color in the background, then the white really pops. Okay. And I'm gonna give that a little, just a gentle pat over top of the little wipe over top of the rub on there. As you can see, I am getting a little bit of ink off the rub-ons. I think you can see that more down here at the bottom. I will say that I can feel that this almost feels, a few places feel a bit tacky, so I think that's because I didn't quite get all the rub-on off of the transparency onto the paper. So it almost feels a bit tacky. So you just have to be a little more gentle. But that's mostly these little areas here where there's kind of a bit of text. So just kind of be careful with that. Err on the side of taking a little bit more time to make sure these larger rub-ons, especially if they've got a little bit of text on them, are all completely transferred from your transfer sheet to your paper. That's what I would suggest. Okay. But there's like step one of adding a bunch of different layers onto this layout. Whatever it's going to look like, I'm not sure yet. You'll have to wait till I finish it. Ah, that's a good idea, Jenny. Super good idea. If you've got a little bit of tackiness, Jenny just said, use your powder tool on top. It's a great idea. And then that will take that tackiness away. But there is kind of a look at all the various, I guess, ways and different media items you can use these rub-ons on. So pretty much everything and anything in your stash. If you like to create backgrounds, like for card fronts or even to add to your layouts, you definitely can add these to there. These rub-ons to any of those. So yeah, we've got a bunch of these in the shop. Super fun to play with. And I can say I highly recommend them for ease. If you love that look of embossing, of white embossing, but maybe you don't have embossing powder, you're not really super thrilled with having to drag out your heat gun and Versamark ink and all that, then I highly recommend these. I'm looking forward to seeing what other designs that they come out with in mini albums. So, oh, that's a good idea, Jenny. So Jenny says she uses her powder tool on top of over rub-ons and mini albums so they don't stick together. Yeah, super great idea. Great tip. Okay, so now the great thing about Facebook Lives is I kind of get to spend the rest of my day finishing this layout and pulling these into a project. So it's always fun to hang out with you guys because it usually means more crafting fun for the rest of my day. Awesome. You're welcome, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with me. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you guys next Thursday. Take care. Bye.